Welcome to the Art of Likability, where you learn the secrets to becoming more likable in all areas of your life. Increasing your likability improves your relationships, and improved relationships increases your success in all areas of your life. Let's jump in with your host, Arel Moody.
What's going on, my Art of Likability family? Arel Moody here, host of, you guessed it, the Art of Likability. I hope you missed us. We missed you. It's been a couple of weeks since we did our last episode, and I know y'all probably like, Arel, what's good, man? Where you been? I've been in the middle of a very big, intense speaking schedule. As a lot of you know, I travel around the country speaking on various subjects, and I've been literally in a different state almost every single day. But I'm like, I need to do something special for the Veterans Day celebration. I need to do something special for y'all. So I have a very, very special guest on today. I wanted to do something where we jump in and give some really, really specific high-level ideas on how you can build your likability via networking. Now, we all know that it's not what you know and it's not who you know. It's who knows you and who likes you. How do you build a better network? How do you do it so that people want to see you succeed and want to give you happiness and want to see you do the things that you want to do? And if you don't want happiness and success and all that good stuff, I don't understand why you're wasting your time. You could be doing something else, but you listen to us, so I want to give you something good. I got my main man, and I can't wait to talk to this guy. This guy's amazing. He is Dan Potenzeri. He is a Marine Corps veteran, college networking guru, and entrepreneur. He's worked on numerous startups, including Fuse, a performance drink, and National Tactical Fitness. He's passionate about service and has helped raise awareness for many nonprofit veteran organizations. And obviously, this is Veterans Week, so this is a very exciting time to speak to a young, amazing person that served our country. And he's also the founder of Connect in College, which teaches young people to successfully network and accomplish their life goals. So excited to have this dude's going to give some great information. And let me tell you, the stuff is good because Dan and I connected through his amazing networking skills. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about our story on how we met. But first, please give me a big old virtual round of applause from the main man, Mr. Dan P. Dan, what's up, Playboy?
That was one of the most impressive introductions I think I have ever received. And I am now so motivated to talk to you and to talk to the Art of Likability fans that I'm ready to let's just get this going right now. Let's not waste any time.
You know, I like that. And let me tell you something. Why I love Dan so much is I had the opportunity to do a speaking engagement, and Dan was there, and he connected with me. And the funny thing is I literally speak to tens of thousands of people every year, and tens of thousands of people I have conversations with after I speak. And they say things like, let's stay in touch. And, I want to learn from you, or various different things. And I always say, hey, I'm happy to. And you would be surprised how many people don't actually stay in touch with me. And Dan was actually the few people who did stay in touch with me. And not only did he stay in touch with me, he's been an amazing, valuable member of my network. It is because of Dan that I got my first TEDx speech. So I joined the TED network and has been able to do multiple TED Talks since then. And it started because Dan got me into that network. So I'm excited to hear about what we want to talk about, and excited to have Dan here because I know from personal experience how awesome this guy is. So let's jump into some cool stuff. So Dan, tell me a little bit about how, first of all, we all know network is important, but give me one specific way that networking has changed your life, that if you realize if you didn't have some of the skills you're about to share, your life wouldn't be what it is right now. Just give me set a tone of how powerful networking really can be for someone and how powerful it has been in your life.
So for me, I grew up with not the greatest set of circumstances. I wasn't the greatest kid in terms of high school grades. I didn't have a lot of resources available to me. I grew up in a small town, so there wasn't like a blooming job market or great public transportation for me to get around and kind of get my feet wet in certain areas. I had to join the military, and what the military did for me was really taught me how to break outside of my shell and be confident with myself. And then it taught me discipline and things that really helped me kind of bloom into a good worker, and somebody who could, put a lot of effort into things to be successful. But really, where the personal side and the networking side started to bridge together the most was when I was in college. Because I had this work ethic and this confidence from the military, which I developed because I was always, a smarter kind of guy in terms of having the knowledge in my head. But when I was in high school, I didn't know how to bring that knowledge out because I didn't have the work ethic. I was way more concerned with playing video games and hanging out in high school than I was in actually focusing on my future. So when I got to college and I had then the discipline and the confidence that I learned in the Marine Corps, I was able to apply that in my classroom and with my peers. And by doing that, having that confidence in myself, I was able to make so many connections. For example, I connected with one of my teachers, Dr. Amy Friedman. She is an amazing educator. She is one of the best political science instructors probably at Long Island University, which is where I went to school. And she actually helped me get a fellowship at the Center for the Study of the Presidency and Congress, where I was able to mix and mingle with politicians, my peers from all over the United States and the country and the world. And I didn't even ask for it. She actually nominated me for the position. So that was just one example of a number of the ways where just developing a relationship with someone and introducing them to, just yourself and who you are and what you're interested in can make a profound impact on your life.
You know what? And I think that's very valuable. The idea that when you're networking correctly, when you're doing it the way that you are supposed to be doing it, opportunities will start coming to you. They will start presenting themselves to you in a way that you almost can't even strategically plan for. It's kind of like you put out all of this good stuff and you network in the right way, and then you have these cool things happen to you. So let's talk about that. Let's jump into the right way that one should be networking versus the wrong way. If you could tell me, you walk into an event and it's a fill in the blank event that someone is at, and they want to get the most out of it. They want to get in with the best people that can change their life or be influential. Tell me about what your mindset is when you walk into a room, or, how do you plan for it? Take me, if you would, from start to finish to how can someone walk into an event and get the best out of it when it comes to getting in with someone, networking with them, and using that to build the success that they have in their life.
Well, the first thing that I would tell someone, or how I would prepare, is to remember the environment that I'm going into. If I'm going into a mixer, a cocktail party, then I'm going to want to be loose and kind of more casual. I'm going to want to maybe have a drink, or maybe kind of, mix and mingle with multiple groups. I don't have a targeted person I'm wanting to talk to. If I'm at a speaking event and I want to speak directly to the author or the speaker, then I'm going to want to research their work. I'm going to want to read their book, or maybe I already have read their book and I want to see what new projects they're working on, so that when I do talk to them, I can ask them about those projects. So networking isn't always as simple as just showing up. Well, it can be that simple sometimes, and that's been my experience. When I've had the most success is when I've just been kind of thrown into an environment with my own element. But when you do go to places where you're meeting people that you respect, or you're mixing and mingling with people that are in a higher level of your profession, you definitely want to go in researched. You don't want to go in there unprepared, so that when you're in a conversation, you don't have anything to contribute with. But if you don't do that, don't feel like you're set yourself up for failure yet. There's still a lot of ways where you can mitigate that. And one of the things I try to tell myself every time I go into a situation is that I'm planting seeds. Sometimes people get caught up in the idea that they need to hit that home run with the first introduction. And that is not always the case. Most of the time, just getting to know a person without any expectation of what they can do or what you can do for them is the most important step. Just getting to know someone. And I think that a lot of, especially young people, when they network, they feel that if that person isn't responding to their emails, or that person isn't really wanting to talk to them as much as they had hoped, that actual experience was a failure. When in fact, that little tiny seed of just introducing yourself and talking a little bit about your projects and listening to their projects and what they're doing in their lives can then grow into a better relationship in time.
So now, all right, so I hear this phrase all the time, and I'm so glad you picked that up because the people say, you got to do your research. You got to do your research. If someone's speaking, you got to do your research. Well, what are you looking for? When you say research, give me a specific example of if you were trying to find out information on someone and you were doing your research, what actually are you hoping to look for, and how do you incorporate that when you actually meet the person?
Right. So research isn't something where you're like digging into their background, going on TMZ and trying to figure out who their latest crush was, or, if they were partying in Vegas that weekend. Researching is simply seeing if they've published any articles. Seeing if they have any kind of TED Talks or university appointments where they're speaking at a university, things like that, and really seeing what they've worked on in the past. So, like, for example, let's say it's an author that you really like, right? An author that you've read their book. Like, for example, one of my favorite authors is Dan Pink, and he has a bunch of books on motivation and the reasons why people interact certain ways and things that, keep them focused in jobs. He has a lot of different types of books. And so if I was to go to a book signing or a book read of Dan Pink, I would want to go in knowing not only what I've read through his books, but also some current stuff that he's working on. Because if I, have an opportunity to introduce myself to him, I'm going to want to bring up that I know what's going on in his profession, because if that's something that he's doing for a living, if I know what he's doing, it's going to make him feel, confident or happy that he's impacting people, and they're so impacted by it that they're following up on his, what he's doing now and, things that he's working on for the future. And that's going to kind of give you that little edge that maybe somebody who hasn't, researched beforehand that wouldn't have, because you are going in there saying so much about this person and what they're working on, and you have some value to add to them because you're so interested in their work and what they're doing.
All right, so now this information about it. You find out, like, if they've written any articles recently, anything interesting. How do you actually bring that up? And I feel like that's kind of a weird, all right, so now I know that this person has done this. Do I just meet them and say, hey, I really loved your article and so on? Like, do you just jump into it? Do you like hold back and wait for a moment to interject? How do you, once you have some current information about something recent they've done or an article they've published or a talk they've done, once you have that information, how are you using that to build relationships when you meet the person?
That's a good question. I think the first thing that you need to remember is that every encounter is unique. So you need to know when to utilize information and when to withhold the stuff that you know. So if you're going into a thing and, maybe let's say, again, Dan Pink, he's, walking around, he's shaking a few hands. You're not going to want to jut your hand out and be like, I loved your work at blah, 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 because he's probably not going to have the time to really connect with you on that level anyways, and it's going to come off really awkward, and it's going to be out of place. So remember, know your situation first. Now, if the situation calls for it and you actually have a few moments with Dan Pink and you can actually talk to him about some things, you're not going to want to go right out of the gate with that information, because remember that, especially if it's like a book read or a book signing, that he's the man of the hour and there's a bunch of people that are going to want to talk to him, and that your main focus is giving him the 2 to 3 minutes of quality conversation that will remind him later on when you email or phone call or whatever, follow up about that conversation. So typically you'd say, hey, how are you doing? You develop some rapport, and then if the conversation shifts to the professional side of things, then you're going to want to talk about how his work outside of the book signing is also impacting you. So maybe I'd say, Dan, I was at, or I just recently listened to your TED Talk, and this one specific phrase really kind of helped me in this project that I'm doing. And I really wanted to say, like, where did you get that inspiration from? Or, how did that manifest to you maybe in another project? Because for me, this is how it's working. And that kind of gives them the opportunity to say, okay, wow, number one, this person is not only, here at a book signing, but also this person really knows my work and is really passionate about it. And number two, it allows them the opportunity to talk more about where their topic came from or where that inspiration came from. And it allows you to sit back and listen to what they have to say, which gives them kind of more of a, okay, I'm here to just talk to this person, not give my phone number or my business card and move on.
Right. I got it. So let's talk about the very important initial contact with someone. So let's say the person you're meeting, you know who they are. They're a successful person. You have researched them. It's a event, and let's say they're the speaker. How do you approach them? What's your philosophy towards? Because everyone's trying to talk to them. Everyone's trying to get in with them. How do you cut through the clutter and make yourself stand out in that particular situation?
That's another great question. Every situation is unique, and you have to be cautious not to, just like a first date or like introducing yourself to a girl, you're not going to want to barge in and talk, and take over the room and push everybody to the side. You're not a game day reporter trying to get that new mixed scoop. You're there to soak up the room and really kind of see what's happening. So typically, when I'm in a room full of people and scholars and I really want to talk to somebody, I sit back first. I read the room. I see where the conversation's going. I see who's talking, because at the end of the day, that person is going to be talking to a lot of people that day, and you're going to want to try and grab them when they're more focused on one individual than 30 individuals. So, let's say Dan Pink comes off stage, and I'm just going to roll with the Dan Pink example because we've been talking about it. But let's say, he comes off stage and there's a bunch of people that want his autograph, want him to sign that book, talking to him. Yeah, I love this. This is great. Yeah, so excited to see you. Can't wait for your next book, blah, blah, blah. Then he's moving down stage, and sometimes if they're big, big profiles, most likely if it's in a stage environment, you're probably not going to be able to talk to them anyways. But hypothetically, for this experience, this example, we're just going to say he comes off stage and he's kind of talking to people, and then he starts to slowly break away. You want to be that person who is reading the person you want to talk to. If they are showing body language like they are done talking, don't approach them. Obviously, it's really hard to read body language, so use your best judgment there. Even if you just make the introduction, you're still not killing anything. Just make sure that, if that person looks like totally exhausted or they're trying to have a moment by themselves, wait a few minutes, let them have their moment. And then after a few minutes, maybe they've got their coffee, they sat down for a little bit, maybe they've checked their phone a couple times, then kind of come over and, introduce yourself that way. It's always so much better to try and grab them in moments of time when they're either welcoming to sit down with people. So for example, like when I met you, Arel, you were going around the lunchroom and kind of sitting down and talking to people. And what I did was like, I know he's going to have a bunch of people talking to him. So I waited until you were done with some conversations, and I kind of casually snuck in there and just talked about how I really loved your presentation and what it meant to me. And that's kind of what you need to do. You need to wait for that right moment, casually kind of come in, don't be abrasive, and just introduce yourself and see where it goes. And if they are, in a hurry or abrasive, then they're probably not in the mood to talk and you should wait for another time. But if they're receptive, then strike, then go for it. Then jump in there and really start networking that with that person, because they're showing that they're interested in knowing more about you, and you are showing that you are interested in learning more about them.
So you would be willing to let someone like, let's say Dan Pink, who's a very popular author, if that person is really looking busy, you're willing to just let that situation slide and just let it go versus trying to go in and talk to them? Did I hear that right, or do you have a different approach?
It's kind of yes and no. You have to be careful because you're not always going to get an opportunity to meet a Dan Pink. For example, actually, at the TEDx talk that you came to, I met an HBO executive who talked about, what's his name? Famous actor. He's a very famous actor. He was in that movie Harvey Milk. I can't remember who it is.
Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
But he talked about how this actor explained to him that so often he walks the city streets of New York, and if I think of his name, I'll bring it out there. I'm still kind of churning my wheels on that one, but sure. He talked about he would walk around in New York City, and fans would recognize him. They'd come up and they would want to take pictures with him, and he'd pose for pictures and everything, and then the fans of his would just hurry and scurry off. And when he was talking to this HBO executive, he said, it's interesting. It's not that I don't want to talk to anybody. It's that the people who want to talk to me always think that I'm in a hurry or that I'm busy, but they never really bother to ask or to start a conversation to see if I am. And he's like, yeah, a majority of the time, I'm getting bombarded by people and I'm not always in the mood to talk. And I am maybe walking to, get to a doctor's appointment or whatever. I'm a normal average New Yorker who's trying to get from point A to point B in a hurry. He's big, but sometimes I'm out just for a nature walk. I'm out walking, Central Park, or I'm out, enjoying the weather. And he's like, I would love the opportunity for somebody to just say, hey, what are you working on, or what are you doing? And the problem is you have to read and understand that just like you and me, when we're walking out or when we're doing something, sometimes we're in a hurry and we're not in the best opportunity to talk to somebody. And you just have to read that. So if Dan Pink, he was in a really big hurry, I don't want to kill it by not introducing myself, but I also don't want to let the opportunity go away. So you really need to try and read the situation. And it does take some time. Networking isn't something you can just do overnight. You have to learn. You have to learn how you can operate in your element and be yourself. And then you have to learn how, when people are in their element and they're doing their, job or their profession, that, maybe you can't connect with them there. But you also don't have to introduce yourself personally. You can also follow up with email or Twitter or Facebook or whatever social media you use to reach out to that author, that professional that you know. So there's also, if you're not, talking to them directly at the book signing, you're missing an opportunity, send that person an email. Hey, Dan, I'm really disappointed. I didn't get a chance to, speak with you at, your TEDx talk. But I really, really liked, what you talked about. It was really a moving speech for me. And, I would love to talk to you more about some of the things that I've read in your book. Will you always get a response? Maybe not, but it's always worth a shot to go out there.
Got you. So, all right. So you are coming up to someone who is really important and you feel like, I have something that with this person could be awesome. Maybe it's a business deal. Maybe you want to try to sell them something. Maybe you want them to introduce you to someone that they know. Let's say that you're meeting someone and because you've done your research and all that stuff, that this person is indeed important in your life. How do you approach that situation?
Well, again, this is where the research plays a role. You got to make sure that you're there, and you in that situation, and you got to know that you got to come prepared with the things that you would say. I want to say the biggest thing you can do in those situations is remember not to shrink, but to grow. So when you're talking to somebody, you throw that profession out there or that field out there, and you start talking about it. Like, for example, if I wanted to get into the t-shirt business, the first thing I'm gonna say is, I really love to, that you don't want to say, I really want to get into, making t-shirts with you because you have a great, branding image and I am good at, making t-shirts. That's not the first thing you want to say to them. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to start talking about their branding image, the things that they like to do, the colors that they like to use. And just remember that you're probably not going to be able to pitch your business idea on the first meeting. Mm-hmm. So you're really going to want to learn about the projects they have coming up, the color schemes that they like to use. Maybe even like if they've done t-shirts before, what t-shirt types or sizes or brands they like to use. And then when you're talking to them, really get as much information you can about, some of the projects they're working on or if they're working on anything, so that if the conversation does segue into an opportunity to be like, hey, Arel, I'm actually good friends with a guy who owns a t-shirt printing business. And he's looking to distribute a really, popular image that can pop off of a t-shirt and really reach out to this younger population or your niche population that you're trying to go for, and then see what they say about it. Don't necessarily bring it up as, I would love to offer you a job opportunity, but with knowing their experience and their expertise, you say, what do you think about this? And then just see if they like the idea. And then if they like the idea, let that kind of momentum grow into a possible partnership.
Okay. So, all right. So let's flip this on you. So this sounds good. Now, I took it from the approach of, what do you say when you know that there's a fit and this person can help you? And you have a very good approach with that. Now, here's my other question. Let's say there's someone who is influential and is important and you've done your research, but you can't really figure out like what a good fit is for you to help that person or whatever the case is. It's just someone like, man, it's Malcolm Gladwell and I love this guy and I know having this guy in my life is going to be awesome and I'd love to be able to help this person, but I genuinely have no idea what I can do for this person. How do you approach a situation like that?
Open-minded. That's the best way you can be. Introduce yourself. You're not really sure where the conversation can go, but you know that they're one of your heroes. Introduce yourself, get the dialogue started, build some rapport, and even the most random of subjects. You could talk about sports, you could talk about family, you could talk about life goals. It doesn't really matter. Just develop a little bit of rapport so that when you kind of follow up with that person, they know who you are. And then do things when you're following through. Send them articles from their profession, something that you think that they may be interested in, something that maybe you thought of them with. So maybe for Arel, if I was reading an article on network successful college strategies for success, maybe I'd be like, oh, this really reminds me of Arel because I know what he likes to do and I know he's traveling all over the country. This article would be great for him. So maybe I'll send you an email. Hey, Arel, I read this article, reminded me of you. That's just kind of a way to, keep the conversation going between you. Because sometimes you don't want to talk about the job that you don't want to talk about the opportunity that you have because you're not really sure if there is one or if it's there yet. So just general information to keep the dialogue going until it manifests into something. You don't, again, that's the planting the seeds part. You don't have to harvest right away. The idea behind successful farming is to plant the seeds, sow, water, wait, let it soak in a little bit, give it some more love and care, and then eventually when it's ripe and it's ready, you'll harvest. And that's the same idea with networking. You don't always have to get the crop out right away. You can wait and sow and water it and give it some love, and then when it's ready and when the timing is right, and you'll know this, you'll know when the timing is right, then you harvest.
So we're harvesting, we're planting seeds. What about the person who feels like, but Dan, I feel like I'm a socially awkward person. Like Dan, you're real smooth, you're very confident. So when you say build rapport and, build a relationship, like, I don't know what that means. Like, help me understand that more. Like, for someone who is just totally, they want to get out their comfort zone, they're ready to make these moves, but they don't know how to naturally build rapport and bond with someone. Are there any go-to phrases? Are there any subjects that you like to go to as a, this is like, if I don't know what to do from specific research, this is always a home run subject. Give me some specific advice for the person who feels totally uncomfortable with interacting with people, but they want to get out their comfort zone and start building that rapport with someone.
Well, this is actually my favorite topic to talk about because similar to public speaking, introducing yourself or going up to say hi, like, for example, if there's a girl at the bar or a girl in the class that you really think is pretty, going up to her or even him is one of the hardest things to do. That interpersonal connection, starting a conversation out of thin air, is one of the hardest things for anyone to do. So one of the things that I always tell people to do is to just say, hi, my name is. Because if you reach your hand out there and you say, hi, my name is Dan, you're overcoming that very first boundary. Because, what do I say? How do I introduce myself? Just say, hi, my name is Dan. And that is the thing that really kind of breaks the ice. And then you can kind of grow from there. Now, again, it takes a little bit of guts and courage to get there, but that's something that I think is important for everybody to learn, is that you can't always, get where you're trying to go without breaking outside of your comfort zone. I believe personally that the most progress you're going to have in your life is when you're most uncomfortable. Because when you're most uncomfortable, everything going on around you is a learning moment. So you have to kind of, if you're awkward and you're not, you're kind of shy, make sure to remind yourself, be myself, but also break out of my comfort zone and do something I wouldn't normally do. Introduce yourself. And then once you've introduced yourself, if you don't know what to say, listen. Listening is probably one of the most overlooked things that any networker could do. It's so easy when you get nervous or just, if you're a very productive and successful person, to just talk about yourself. And that is missing the whole point of networking. Yeah, you do want to talk a little bit about what you have going on so that the other person knows who they're talking to, But at the end of the day, it's all about listening to what they have going on. So if you don't know what to say, go ahead and just be quiet and listen. Listen to the topics they have. Say, yeah, that makes sense. I understand, just kind of small talk, but really listen to their ideas or ask them questions about their ideas. So you're asking, oh, well, tell me more about that. And then they're telling you more about their ideas. So listening really helps break the ice, let the other person feel a little bit more confident about the conversation. And then when your moment, when you feel like you can maybe add something to the conversation, you can throw it in there. And then eventually it may grow into a full-blown conversation. And with that also, if the conversation is dying out, don't be the guy that hangs on to the conversation trying to make that impact. If the conversation is dying out, you have to understand when that moment comes and just say, all right, thank you very much, and move on. Because, you can start making a negative impact if you hang on to the conversation too long.
All right, so then let's kind of do a role play with that a little bit. So you tell people to say, hey, my name is, let's actually assume this role. Now, let's say you're meeting me. You don't know who I am. You know that, I'm someone that you've deemed as, people seem to be talking about this person. He's a successful business person. I want to get to know him. And I'm going to start with my hello, my name is strategy. Let's just do a quick role play to see how that might play out. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
All right, cool. So we're at the event and you're going to come and say hello to me, and then we're just going to play with it. So go.
Hi, Arel. I really liked your speech. My name is Dan. It's really nice meeting you.
Hey, what's going on, Dan? Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that.
Hey, so there was this one moment in your speech you talked about how the art of likability is one of the most important things to being successful in your life. Could you tell me maybe where that idea came from? Because I really liked it and I kind of wanted to know maybe a little bit more about it.
Perfect. So what you're doing is you're using that, hi, my name is, waiting for the response, and then using something specific from why that person would be important to you. So if in this case you were at a speech, you're asking for more information about a topic that this person knows a lot about. It's very cool. Very cool.
Right. Questions are important because questions keep the conversation going, and it gives the person that you're trying to network with an opportunity to talk more about those ideas and kind of gain their confidence in exchange for their knowledge that you listen to. So it's kind of a self-licking ice cream cone, so to speak, in the networking realm, where you're learning more, even more in-depth information about the speech topic or the book or whatever that you've went there to meet them for. But then you're also getting an opportunity to kind of let them build some confidence in the conversation and the relationship you're starting to build.
Got you. So now, what are the things that you see people doing that they should be doing more of? So there's, obviously the things not to do, but what are the things that you think people should do more of that they don't, and try to give examples of each that come to your mind?
So there's a couple of things that I think that the majority of people do when they meet, especially people that are, higher up in the professional world or they're heroes or whatever, and that's underselling themselves. When you go to meet somebody, don't automatically go to, well, I'm not a professional in the field, or, I don't really know what I'm talking about. Try to stay away from, especially in an initial conversation, try to stay away from negative tone talking. Because what that does is it puts you in a situation where that person is automatically set off because you're not coming in with just a general feel of confidence. And now you could be completely scared to death of meeting them. But as long as you don't say anything that makes you come across as being, negative or not confident, they're never going to know the difference. Mm-hmm. So always make sure to talk proudly about the things you've done, even if it's something really small. But if it's something you're proud of, and everybody's proud of something, and I was proud when I got the trophy in, middle school for basketball shootout. I was proud of that trophy. And it doesn't really matter. Most of the time, most people you meet, if you show general enthusiasm for your awards or your accomplishments or even your goals, maybe something it's not something you haven't accomplished yet, but it's something you're striving to do, showing confidence and enthusiasm for those things are what people would like to hear from you. But if you're I really don't know anything about, public speaking and, you're definitely an expert, and it just comes across as, why are you talking to me? I don't understand where you're going with this. Give me a little bit more. Be confident. People like to talk to people who are engaging and fun and interesting. And if you come across as negative and kind of reclusive, you're not going to get much more out of the conversation. It's going to die very quickly. And the second thing that I would say is don't niche yourself. If you come to talk to somebody about, maybe they're like a sports personality on the radio, don't just talk about sports. Get to know that person in other realms and other things that they're interested in. Every single person out there has multiple hobbies, different things that they're interested in. So maybe, the overall arcing theme of the talk may be about sports, but you're going to want to ask, like, hey, do you have any kids, or, do you have any hobbies outside of sports? Maybe what do you do? And then maybe there's something that you two can connect on that's not about the general topic. I think one of the most important strategies that I've learned over my lifetime in terms of networking has been learning about somebody's personal life is almost as important as knowing about their professional life, because later on, when you're talking to somebody, it makes that relationship much more special. It makes it have a much deeper tone than, hey, you're a professional, I'm a professional. If there's a professional opportunity, we'll move forward. But if I'm like, hey, Rel, I know you have a beautiful baby boy who you're starting to do this new workout thing with, and how is he doing? Like, how is he taking that? Like, is it a fun, or do you have any complications with it? Does he ever, throw up on you by accident, or sneeze, or something like that? And that really starts a different kind of navigation for your conversation, and it makes the relationship that much deeper.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Really cool. Now let's talk about something you alluded to earlier that I know a lot of people wonder about. And you said, build relationships. And even if someone doesn't seem as if they immediately can be of benefit to you, still build a relationship. But our time is so limited. How can you give your time to so many different people when time is such a finite commodity that we all have access to? How do you gauge, hey, this is just a cool person I'm having a quick interaction with and I'm going to keep it moving, versus continuing that conversation if you don't feel like it's going anywhere? What are your rules around that conversation that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, but you still want to keep it going just in case, but you don't have unlimited time, so you can't spend your time with everyone? How do you play to that particular situation?
This is another one of those big misconceptions that networkers constantly struggle with, and that I think especially new networkers constantly struggle with. And it's the idea that the one conversation is going to result in that, successful job offer, or that new book deal, or, whatever your target is of the networking scheme. And the idea behind it is the conversation doesn't end when the conversation ends. And what I mean by that is, if you and I have had a conversation and it dies down like we talked about before, there's so many other ways to maintain a dialogue with somebody. Like, again, you can email them, you can send them articles, you can connect with them on LinkedIn. Hey, I didn't know you had a LinkedIn. Great. I'd love to connect with you. You can continue to carry on. And I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that networking is half sacrifice and half acceptance. When you're in a successful networking relationship and you've made that connection, sometimes the best way to keep that dialogue going is by to offer them things. Even if you think that they may not want it or it may not benefit them, but that it's in an area of interest to them, offer that to them. Like, if you got tickets to, a show that one of your friends gave you and you can't go, be like, hey, I'm not sure if you're into sports or not, but I got these 2 tickets and, I can't go to the game. Do you think you'd want them? Those are the types of things that can maintain dialogue and that can result in, future opportunities to discuss business, proposals, or to get that job that you want. So remember that the conversation doesn't always end when the conversation ends.
But now, how does one get that? How does one get that contact information if you're just having a quick conversation with someone? How do you get that?
You definitely have to exchange either business cards if you have them, or get an email. Email is usually the best thing, because in today's society, everybody's busy and running around, and hardly ever has time to talk or text. Or sometimes if they're a professional that many people know about, or a personality that many people know about, they're not going to give you their phone number. So definitely always get email. I always try to come prepared with some type of business card. But if you're like a young college student or a high school student that really isn't at that professional level, but you're still meeting people, always try to get an email or get a contact, maybe even a web page that they use. because a lot of professionals that, are in certain fields, especially if they're authors or public speakers or even personalities, they have Twitter accounts or things like that. And you can always try to reach them through, private messaging in, LinkedIn or Twitter accounts, or you can reach out to them via email. I personally think that email is the number one way to reach out to somebody when you don't have any other medium to do so with.
All right, so go through with me. How do you actually exchange your business card? Do you have any strategies with how you do that, or what is your way of doing the business card? So a lot of people might feel like, I don't want to feel like I'm just throwing my business card at somebody. How do I do it? So when we're at the business card phase, how do we do that?
Well, the first thing is to never open with the business card. So don't, do the sleazy salesman pitch and be like, hey, Arel Moody, here's my business card. I'd love to talk to you.
Right.
That is the number one no-no with business cards. Definitely don't do that. I always like to close with the business card, or the contact information. And you say something very similar and simple to like this. Arel, it has been absolutely amazing talking to you. I thank you so much for giving me your time. I know you're very busy, and I really appreciate it, and it has made a profound impact on me. I would love to get your contact information, or I would love for you to take mine. This is my business card. It has my email on there. I'm great with email. Please feel free to contact me. If you have a card, I would love to have it. I would like to talk some more about, what we've discussed today, and maybe even see if there's a way I could help out your family in terms of, with your son, maybe I have an educational opportunity for him, or things like that. That's the best way to do it, is to thank them for their time. Always be thankful, and especially if it's somebody who's a personality or a speaker or an author or those kind of areas, always be thankful, because they're busy people, and they really spend a lot of time perfecting their craft. And a simple thank you in terms of what they've shown you and the kindness that they've given to you is what makes their day worthwhile sometimes. And so always be thankful. You think that they get a lot of thanks, but sometimes public speaking and being a professional is a thankless job, because you're always in the run and people are always trying to use your expertise and your knowledge. So they don't always get thanked. So always do that. And definitely just, hey, I would love to talk to you. Show your enthusiasm and show your willingness to try and to continue this conversation. And typically, if they're a personality or there's somebody that's a little bit higher level of you always want to take their business card, usually, if you can. Don't always offer your business card first. It's kind of, at least in my opinion, and this is maybe the Marine Corps in me, but it's kind of a respect thing. If you're trying to be where they're at, you're not going to give them your business card and ask them to contact you. You're going to get their business card and tell them you would love to contact them.
Yep, gotcha. That's awesome. Well, this has been some great information, man, and I think it's very, very specific, very, very helpful. Leave me with some ideas that you feel are, secret sauce, or you feel like is really like, oh, this is so good if people just figured this out. What kind of the, stuff that's kept in the vault good you can share to kind of cap off this awesome interview we've done?
I'll leave you with a couple things. The first thing is be yourself. At the end of the day, if you're Arel Moody, like he said, you said in your Art of Likability episode 1 that you were an awkward kind of guy, you didn't really get it at first, and it took you some time, just be yourself. Because at the end of the day, you may not, it's just like, riding a bike. You don't know how to ride a bike the first time you get on it. Nobody's the same. Some people can talk better. Some people can write better. Some people are better in groups. Some people are better one-on-one. Networking and being a professional and kind of going through the process is learning. And that means that you have to get out there, be yourself, and try as many different ways to find out what you are good at. There is no one size fits all. There is no, end all be all secret. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own way of connecting, their own way of showing, what projects and goals they're working on and how to, grow within that relationship. And it really just takes time, patience, and practice. And the second thing that I would say is always be willing to give. Give. Don't be that networker that connects with somebody and asks for an opportunity or asks for something in return. Be the networker who goes out there, gets to know somebody, gets to know their likes and interests, and does everything you can to connect them with somebody else who may be able to help them, or give them something that you can't use, or help them with a project even when your time is limited. Because At the end of the day, the most important thing you can do for any networker is help somebody else be successful. So at the end of the day, when you've done that, they're going to remember you. And when that big, project that you help them with, when that business takes off or that idea takes off, they're going to be one of those first few people that, they're going to call to either be thankful that you helped them or to bring you on board with the project. So always, always, always be willing to give before you receive.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Dan, man, this was absolutely amazing. I love how you broke down how to do introductions, how to connect with successful people, how to do the proper research, how to interact with the research, how to get contact information, when to do contact information, and just amazing specific ideas. So I appreciate it. And if people have questions and they want to say, hey man, you're a vet, I want to say thank you. First of all, let me actually say thank you to you, Dan. Thank you for your service and for all you've done for our country. If anybody wants to contact you and thank you for your service or connect with you or network with you or get more information about the projects that you're working on, what's the best way for someone to reach out to you?
Well, thank you for saying all that. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. Today is the Marine Corps birthday. We turned 239 today, so I really appreciate it. And tomorrow's Veterans Day, so I make sure, I know you might not be hearing this tomorrow, but always think of that. It doesn't have to be on Veterans Day to thank a veteran. The sacrifices that everybody makes. I mean, I came home completely intact with no mental or physical issues, and every single day there is a veteran who is struggling with something. So be kind and thank them for their service. And sometimes all it takes is a gentle nod or a shake of the hand. It doesn't have to be something extravagant. But I would love to connect with everybody. Actually, I just launched the Connect in College Twitter feed. I have 0 followers. So if you would like to follow that and be the first, you can do that. It's at Connect N, the letter N, College. So Connect N College. I'd love for you to connect with me there on Twitter. You can also email me. I love giving out my personal email. I'm not one of those people that has to have some secret squirrel email. My email is very simple. It's my last name, which is POTENZIERI and @gmail.com. You can definitely do that, or you can contact Arel Moody's Art of Likability, and I'm sure he would be more than happy to give you the contact information as well.
I'll hook y'all up. I'm good for it, baby.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, Dan, thank you so much for talking about a very important subject. I think that being more likable when you network, being someone that is easily approachable, connects with the right people in the right way, is extremely valuable for creating that relationship and creating that way to truly make an interaction turn into a relationship. And a relationship has the power to absolutely change your life. You'll get more success, more happiness. And if you don't want success and happiness, why are you listening to this podcast? You could be doing, why'd you just spend your time with us? You could be doing something else, but you just invested in yourself. And the best way to send a thank you to me or to Dan or to anyone that you gain valuable information from is to actually apply that information. Don't listen to this conversation we had with Dan and just go on about your life and do nothing differently. You need to go out and try it, implement it, apply it, and see how it works. And when you do that, then shoot me an email at info@artoflikability.com or contact Dan or hit me up on Twitter at Arel Moody or on Facebook or LinkedIn or any other social media network that I'm on, because I'm on all of them. If you're on it, I'm probably on it too. ARELMOOD as in David, IE. And make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about this particular podcast. Leave a comment on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to us from, and let us know what you think. Please go ahead and give us some reviews. I like the 5-star ratings. Makes my day. I read every single review and it makes my day when it's 5 stars. So go ahead and make my day. I'd appreciate it. Sending you, Dan, and everybody else out there, a big old high five. You are awesome.
Thanks for listening to The Art of Likability. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast for more awesome info on how you can improve your likability and improve your life. Until next time, remember,